Today, we're talking about something that sounds way too good to be true, and that is, can you learn a language through movies? So, first of all, is it even possible to do that? In my opinion, maybe, but I think it works best when it's combined with other methods. Movies are an excellent tool for training listening comprehension, building vocab, and reinforcing grammar through context. However, you need to use them the right way. I'm going to share with you my best tips for learning languages through movies effectively. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and now let's get started. The first and most important tip is pick something that you are genuinely interested in. I know that a lot of people say to start with kids shows or cartoons, and while I agree that they can be good for beginners because they usually use very simple language, I just don't think that it's a good strategy long term. I know some people enjoy them, but I'm convinced that the majority of adults will just find them really, really boring. So instead of that, pick something that you are genuinely interested in. And that can be anything. For example, I am learning Russian right now, and I'm very into personal growth, meditation, motivation, peak performance, stuff like that. So I've been watching a lot of TED Talks and videos on YouTube about those topics. But let's say that you are into makeup. I was actually very into makeup when I was a teenager. And when I was learning English around 13 or 14 years old, my mom basically gave me an ultimatum. She told me, okay, you can either watch everything in English or you give me your phone and you find something else to do, because she didn't want me scrolling on my phone for hours every single day. So obviously I was like, okay, I'm going to start watching everything in English. And you could say that I became fluent in English through 2014, 2015 makeup tutorials and makeup gurus. Staying focused is really the key, because obviously you can play a video in the background while you're doing chores and you don't really have to pay attention then. But when you actually stay focused and you actively try to understand what is going on, then you're going to absorb new vocab a lot faster. Your listening comprehension is going to improve a lot faster as well. So engagement really is everything. Another advantage to watching something that you are interested in, you're going to learn vocab that is relevant to your life, that you could actually see yourself using. And also, I don't know about you, but when I listen to podcasts or watch videos specifically for language learners, oftentimes I find them kind of boring, or if I just watch something that I'm not really interested in. Whereas when I watch something that I'm fascinated by, I'm like, okay, let me watch 3 more videos on that topic. What this does is essentially it makes language learning feel less like a chore and more like a part of your life. And that is one of the most important things when you really want to become fluent in a language. You need to start living the language. It needs to become a part of your life. Okay, but what if you want to start watching and you don't understand anything? I've been there and I know that it can feel hard at first, but there are a few strategies that you can use to make it a little bit easier. So the first one is usually on YouTube or on Netflix or any other streaming platform, you can adjust the playback speed, so you can play it at 0.5 or 0.8. 0.5 might sound a bit weird, but 0.5 should be fine, I think. Or you can just start with subtitles, but you need to use them the right way. What I like to do is when I first start watching in a new language, I usually start by putting on subtitles in my native language or a language that I know well, like French or English. And I leave them on for a few days or a few weeks, depending on how well my brain adjusts. Then when I kind of start noticing where one word ends and the other one starts, when I get used to the way the language sounds, I switch to subtitles in my target language. So if I'm watching a video in Danish, then I'm gonna switch to Danish subtitles. And then again, I'm gonna keep them on for a few weeks. When I start noticing that I'm not relying on those subtitles that much anymore, that I don't really need them, then I will switch to no subtitles. Of course, if you want, you can jump straight into watching without any subtitles on, but this is a good way to kind of ease yourself into it and make it a little bit less overwhelming. Okay, another thing that is a very natural instinct, you kind of just want to look up every single word that you don't understand. So should you do that? Well, in my opinion, you should only look up words that appear repeatedly. At least that's what I do. When I see the same word over and over again, that's how I know that it's an important word that I should probably learn or at least understand to be able to understand the whole story, right? So I don't look up every single one, because then that just slows you down massively. I just look up the ones that appear all the time. Or if I hear or see a word that sounds interesting or funny, something like that, then I will look it up. But for example, if someone is talking about knitting or rock climbing and you've never done either of those things in your life and you have no interest in that, then I wouldn't stress about writing it down or memorizing it, because I mean, when are you gonna use those words, right? So you're gonna learn them naturally through context, and I would focus on words that are more relevant to your life. Movies and videos are also excellent for shadowing. Shadowing is one of my favorite language learning techniques, and if you don't know what it is, it's very simple. Shadowing is just basically trying to mimic the way native speakers speak. So for example, you can take a video and pause after every sentence and just try to match your pronunciation to the one of the speaker. I usually focus on rhythm, pronunciation, emotions, stuff like that. I just try to sound as natural as possible. But obviously you don't have to do this with the entire movie or the entire episode of a TV series. When I hear a sentence that I like, that I could see myself using, I will pause and try to say that sentence out loud. And that way I'm working both on my pronunciation and also learning new vocab. Also, one tip, if you have a favorite accent, for example, let's say that your favorite Spanish accent is from Argentina, pick media from that region and do shadowing exercises with those. Then you're just gonna naturally learn your favorite accent. You can also combine watching with output. So if you are watching a movie or a TV series, when you're finished, you can write a summary, or you can just talk about what you saw. It's especially great if you are preparing for a proficiency exam, because if you're taking a B2 exam, for example, during the speaking and the writing part of the exam, you usually have to introduce the text that you just read or listened to. You have to say what it was about. You can also give reviews, so just say what you liked about the movie, what you didn't like, what you would change. And you can do it two ways. You can either write it down or you just record yourself speaking. It's really simple, but if you want to combine listening comprehension with training your active skills, I think this is an excellent exercise. You learn how to express opinions, it trains your active skills, and also you can make sure that you really understood what the movie, the video was about, which is also a nice bonus. Okay, and lastly, if your goal is fluency at a higher level like C1 or C2, then mix up your content a little bit. I would say that 70% of what you watch should be for fun, and then 30% should be for progress. So most of the time, watch movies, TV shows, videos that you enjoy, but from time to time, you can watch a documentary or a TED Talk about something that you're not really interested in, that you normally wouldn't watch a video about. This is especially, again, great if you are preparing for a proficiency exam, because usually during those at the C1 and C2 level, you have to talk about stuff like the environment, social issues, art, society, science, and you need specific vocab to be able to talk about those topics. So watching movies, documentaries is a really great way to learn that vocab. So most of the time, watching should be fun, but from time to time, don't be afraid to watch something a little bit out of your comfort zone. All right, that's it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.